What is currently happening, programs? Welcome to the Grid VR, where I'll be bringing you this week's news in virtual reality. It's Sunday, the 10th of September 2017, and all I can say this week is, go ahead, remake my day. We've got Rockstar Games cooling it up with L.A Noir, Marvel Powers United powering it up, Resident Evil 2 turning it up, Kin styling it up, Brass Tactics blowing shit up, and much more. Today I'm going to cover off the main events to keep you in the loop. So stay locked, crush that like button, enjoy, and welcome to the Grid VR. Rockstar Games, the developer of Grand Theft Auto, not that I really need to tell anyone that, is bringing their detective thriller game L.A Noir all the way from previous gen consoles up to current times on the HTC Vive on the 14th of November, which is the same day the original full game will be ported to PS4, Xbox One and Nintendo Switch. And while the ports will be the full game, L.A Noir, the VR case files, will contain 7 selected cases from the full game, built from the ground up specifically for VR. Set in the seedy streets of LA's 1940s underbelly, you will fill the role of Cole Phelps, an incorruptible LAPD officer tasked with solving various crimes in traditional, true blue detective style by finding and examining clues, interrogating suspects, and decoding their facial expressions, which were extremely realistic at the time, by the way, to tell if they are legit and upstanding citizens or completely full of shit. In the VR version of the game, you can grab and inspect clues and also make notes, draw dicks, on the case by drawing dicks freehand in your notebook, and most likely drawing dicks. You can interact and get into vehicles like you would in the full game and drive around LA spraying bullets at pretty much anyone who casts shade at your pinstripe threads and schmoove detective hat. This one is Vive only, as quoted by Rockstar themselves, so no PSVR or official Rift support at this stage, but if it shows up on Steam, it's likely just not to be optimized for Rift. And if it's like Google Earth VR's copy protection from earlier in the year, a swift Rift crack will mean that Rift players are in reasonably good hands either way. PSVR programs, though, will just have to wait it out. 2 new characters have been added to the upcoming Marvel Powers United VR roster this week, both of whom are Inhumans that have stepped forth from the ancestral safe haven of Adelan to help stitch back together a shattered reality by retrieving a shard of the Cosmic Cube taken by Ronan the Accuser and a lineup of yet-to-be-announced villains. First on the list is Black Bolt, who brings his slick wardrobe, slick haircut, and slick leadership skills to the VR Marvel mayhem, as well as a quasi-sonic voice with some pretty severe destructive capabilities. Crystal, on the other hand, is an elemental that can control air and earth, wind, and fire, which means she can landscape your garden like a beefed-up 8-foot tradie, and boil coffee fast enough to keep you on a caffeine high indefinitely, making her my kind of woman. With the 2 latest additions, this brings the total lineup to 6 characters at this stage, including Hulk, Captain Marvel, Deadpool, and Rocket Raccoon, as well as one giant teleporting bulldog called Lockjaw, who is the escort and protector to the Inhuman royal family, which you may have spotted in the 20th episode of The Grid back on the 22nd of July, and who you would have definitely noticed in this video. This game is an Oculus funded exclusive and will be out next year at some stage, which is a long time to whittle sticks, so in the meantime just sit back and enjoy the updates as the roster unfolds further. And briefly, a program called Crying Horn has remade the RPD main hall from Resident Evil 2 in Unreal 4 for VR, and it's legitimately good. I'm really impressed, and you can try it out right now by checking the description below, downloading the zip file, and running the RPD VR application. And make sure you head on over to Crying Horn's YouTube channel and hit the sub button while you're there. Also, on the late 90s game level remaking buzz, a program called Nico Base is remaking Tomb Raider 2 in Unreal Engine 4 and has put up a demo called The Dagger of Zion. And thanks to Unreal Engine's native VR support, you can play the level in VR. Though because it is kind of a forced VR mode, you will need strong VR legs and depending on your PC, it's probably not a bad idea setting the graphics on the low side in normal mode before running it in VR mode. Again, check the description below for a download link, create a shortcut to the application, right-click, go Properties, and then add -VR to the end of the target, and boom, Lara's your uncle. And again, in level remaking land, a program called Ultra has remade Thunder Bluff from the Mulgore region in World of Warcraft in VR, and it's insanely good. If you love World of Warcraft, then give this a go for sure, and sub to the Ultra YouTube channel for future updates and to show your support. A download link is in the description, and all you have to do is run the thunderbluff.exe. Res Infinite now has a setting in the game that lets you add 3D depth to areas 1 through 5. For those who have played this title in VR, you'll know that Area X certainly has a fully immersive VR feel, while the other areas definitely do not. Well, the devs have listened and answered, so if this game is in your library, set the 3D setting to max and get your eyes and ears psychedelically massaged in 3D space. CrossVR, the developer of Revive, which lets Vive users play Rift-only games, has joined the OpenXR working group, as promised, after a recently successful run on Patreon. OpenXR allows VR devs to support all headsets through a single API, which means they won't have to develop their software to work on either a Rift or Vive or both, which will save them time and mean that us consumers can access their games and apps regardless of what platforms we are using without additional third-party software. Ultimately, this is a good thing, and the OpenXR team having a developer like CrossVR on their side is also good. House of Secrets, who developed the immersive VR videos Apex and Surge, have teased their upcoming platformer Kin, which is made for the Oculus Rift and Gear VR. As described on the developer's website, Kin is a stylized adventure puzzle platformer for virtual reality, with an abstract aesthetic and combat elements that will have the player traverse the remnants of an ancient civilization on a distant planet. This looks really nice and is a refreshing change, not that I'm complaining, from all the VR first-person shooters that have been coming out recently. The game is set for a release later this year, and I'm looking forward to seeing this full experience in action. Brass Tactics, which is a tabletop real-time strategy game built for VR, has popped up for pre-order on the Oculus Store this week. The game is developed by Hidden Path Entertainment, who brought us Age of Empires 2 and Counter-Strike Global Offensive, so expect polished graphics, solid mechanics, and some high-level RTS immersion. The game will be available on October 9th, and you can pre-order now for more than a 15% discount. And finally, Google is apparently set to acquire some or all of HTC, though possibly not the Vive part of HTC. This could be a great move in the AR space, considering that Google would have a streamlined integration of hardware and software R&D. Sound familiar? And that's this week on the Grid VR. If you have more you would like to add, then hit me up in the comments below and let's discuss. And if you like this video, then crush that like button, hit the XO logo to subscribe if you wanna, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!